Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda and today we're going to be starting the July book for my Fantasy Reads book club. So I can't promise that every single month I'll be doing a video where I kind of go through my experience reading the book for the book club. But I thought since the first month was kind of the special one, I would do it at least for one of the books we are reading. So we are reading 3 books together, but by the time this video comes up, we'll have already finished all 3. So check in with my TBRs and you'll know which books we're reading. And if you want to know way beforehand, you can join the Discord, which I'll have a link down below. So this month we are going to be reading Nevernight, which I'll be reading with you all in this video, but we're also going to be reading The Poppy War and The Dragon Republic, which I will not be doing for this video. So I have already previously read Nevernight and I rated it 5 out of 5 stars, although I think it was actually more like a 4.75 because the first like 120 pages are the boringest thing ever. I right now just started chapter 1 and I'm not as fond of it as I remember being the first time, but you know what? That's just chapter 1, so let's keep moving and see how things change. Hello, so I just finished part 1, which was how far I wanted to get in day 1, or I at least wanted to get there by the end of day 2, but I managed to get there at the end of day 1 and I have so many freaking tabs because I decided to basically tab everything. Okay, let me get rid of the glare for you before we talk. So I decided to tab 4 different things in this book. So I tabbed every time we learned something about Mia, and that's the ones in pink. I wanted to do it in red, but I didn't have a red color, so pink was the closest. Anytime there's world building, which is blue. Anytime a character that's not Mia gets a description or is introduced or something important is said about them, and that's in yellow. And then anytime there's foreshadowing, and that is done in orange. So I was actually surprised how many orange tabs I have. I'm a little disappointed because the orange is kind of similar to the pink, so I can't count them super easily. There's about 10 orange tabs and I'm at page 120, so that's pretty dang awesome. I basically have 4 more days left of reading this book before I finish it because that's how I've blocked it out for myself, but at this rate, I'm probably going to finish it in 2 more days. And then on top of all the tabbing that I'm doing, I'm also making little charts to go at the beginning of every single part. And I put basically like a 5-word summary of what happens in every single chapter. And then on top of that, I'm making a glossary of all the characters that are introduced. Well, I'm not doing all of the characters. I'm doing like all of the teachers at the assassin school. I don't need to do one for all of the like students because I can keep them apart, but I have a hard time with some of the teachers. So tomorrow I'm going to be moving on to part 2 and I will let you know how that goes. Hey, so I finished Nevernight like a few hours ago, but I forgot to update you guys. So I'm too tired and I'm gonna do it in the morning. Okay, bye. Hello, welcome to me, but during the daytime when I have way more energy to talk to you guys about books. I forgot the book. I can 100% tell you that that's not a bit that I do like on my channel because I think it's funny. It's something that I legit actually do. I sit down to film and then I realize I don't have the book that I want to be talking about. It's because I listen to so many audiobooks that I often don't have something to hold up for you guys. So when I do, I just don't think to grab it. I finished rereading Nevernight the second time. I guess it's not the second time I'm rereading it, it's the second time I'm reading it. Get your facts straight. If you want to take a quick ponder at this book with your eye holes, I only ended up tabbing 1/3 of the book. I think I stopped right around chapter 16, which was just at the beginning of part 2, because I was finding that it was just slowing me down too much and I just wanted to read the book because I wanted to be done with the book so I could read something else. I'm kind of going through a funk right now with rereading books where, because I'm making an effort to reread a certain number every single month, I'm just no longer wanting to do it. So I definitely think this is something I'm going to have to consider moving forward in 2021, but for the rest of 2020, I'm going to try to continue on with my reread challenge as best as possible. This was not part of that challenge. This book I was reading for my book club, so it actually was voted in, and I just decided to reread it because everyone was going to be reading it, and I couldn't remember enough details about it to talk about it with them. So I reread it. The first time I read the book, I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I was enthralled with it. I thought it was like the next best thing. I definitely thought the first time that the first part was really slow and that you had to like push past that to get into the meat of the book. This time, I had very different thoughts. Now, I still enjoyed the book a lot. I still really, really enjoyed it. I wouldn't have reread it if I didn't think that was possible. I wouldn't have tabbed it if I didn't think that was a fact. I just don't think it was the next best thing. I think it had a lot of things that last time I just wasn't as into reading, and I wasn't as broad of a reader, and I hadn't read as many books. So I thought that it was so unique in some of its aspects, whereas this time, now that I've read more books, I can say that it is not the uniqueness of a book that I thought it was. I don't think that sentence came out how I wanted it to. Really, what it came down to this time was I really enjoyed the world and the atmosphere of this book. I think it did a good job with that, but I felt like its characters were lacking, and I also think that now that I have read books 2 and 3, it has ruined some of the characters that I really, really loved in the first place, so that while I liked them more in this book, all I'm thinking about is the random ass shit that they do in books 2 and 3, and it's not sticking with me very well. It's like heartburn. It's coming back up over and over again, and I'm just not liking it. If you have read these books, I'm going to say some names right now that you might understand why I'd be having these feelings. Specifically, Ash and Trick. They just have a different mentality in book 1 than they have in books 2 and 3, and it really hurt me to know what's going to happen in the later books. But also, it affected characters such as Mia and Mr. Kindly, and I know a lot of people love Mr. Kindly, including even in the later books. I just have a hard time with how he treats some of the other characters in later books, and if you have any questions about those specifics, I'll message you down below. I just don't want to say it in this video because I don't want to spoil anything for later people. But yeah, that kind of ruined some of my thoughts and some of my ideas about how this book was actually such a grand thing in what it was. I also definitely think this time that I felt like I looked closer. That's not what I want to say. I felt like this time when I was reading, I talked earlier about how I've read more books and so I understand books better now and I can rate them differently. And part of that is I look at writing a little bit more and I look at plot progression more than I used to. One of the issues I had with this book was that Jay Kristoff wrote it so slow. It is such a slow and grueling book. Like, you're sitting here forever trying to get through it. I took notes on the different chapters and I tried to write down a few notes of what happened in every single chapter. And in part 1, a lot was happening in every single chapter because we were having these flashbacks from when Mia was a kid and you were having present day stuff happening. So I could take a lot of notes. But when I look back on these notes and I look at what's actually happening, there is not that much that actually happens. For chapter 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, Mia basically does 2 things in her flashback scenes. And those 2 things I'm not going to go into, but it's basically like she is lost and now she is not lost. But it took him 4 chapters of writing to get to that point. And then also, on the other side, in the present day stuff, it took 3 chapters for Mia from the time that she got to the church where she was going to be trained to getting like inside of the church where she was starting to be trained. 3 chapters. We didn't need that many. I mean, the chapters are like 15 to 20 pages each. We did not need that much time spent on her walking into the church. Also, there was one chapter, specifically chapter 6, I have the notes right here, where it's told in a non-linear timeline, which is something that doesn't happen anywhere else in the book. Like, I understand that the book is told non-linearly, and I like that, and that word is really hard to say. I like that. I like when books are told in a non-linear function. But this was done where within the chapter section, we saw the end of an action, and then we saw the beginning of the action, and then we saw the end of the action again. Like, the literal paragraphs were repeated word for word at the beginning and the end. And I get that it was because the book had been so slow up until that point that Jay Kristoff was like, I gotta do something to catch the reader's attention so that they keep reading my damn book, because they're not gonna stick with it at this point with what I've written. That was all part one, and I know that I sound very aggressive and angry right now, but I liked this book, okay? Part two, I took notes up until chapter 26, and then I just stopped taking notes, because from chapter 11 to chapter 26, I could sum up every single chapter in 1 to 2 words. In fact, let me tell you a little bit about some of the things that I wrote for some of these chapters, because they're not spoilers unless you've read the book. Chapter 11, arm healed. That's all I wrote about chapter 11. That's the only thing of significance that I found in chapter 11. Chapter 12, eclipse. Chapter 13, pockets. I literally just wrote the word pockets. If you've read the book, you understand how important that is. But like, when you're looking at the book as a whole, that's not that much to focus on for one whole chapter. Chapter 14, masks. And then I also did write, you know what, I just broke my own rule, Mia's new face. And then chapter 15, I wrote poison. Chapter 16, I wrote secrets. Chapter 17, I wrote torture. Chapter 18, I wrote something that is a spoiler, so I'm not going to say what it is. Chapter 19, I wrote dance. Chapter 20, I wrote bye. Chapter 21, I wrote library. Chapter 22, I wrote flashback sex, which I know what that means, but it sounds really weird when you don't know what it means. Chapter 23, I wrote medallion swap. 25, I wrote trick. And then chapter 26, I wrote Carlotta again. So you see my issue when you break down the book in the way that I did, where you might get bored with it and you might not be finding it as grand as you originally thought it was going to be. Now, saying that, I am glad that I reread it, and I am still rating the book a very, very decent score. So I ended up rating the book 4 out of 5 stars, which is totally a good score. I loved a lot of what this book did. I think that part 3 has a lot of twists and turns that I really enjoyed. I like the whole entire element of like this school of murderers who are actually murdering people. Although I do have a caveat with that one, where this whole entire purpose of this school is to train assassins, and then Mia has a hard time actually going through with being an assassin in certain aspects, and I think that that is dumb, because I'd really like to read a book where someone is being trained to be an assassin and they're just like, screw it, I have no morality, I'm just gonna go kill people. I also felt like Mia kind of fell into the like main YA female protagonist slot, where like she's not really that pretty but everyone falls in love with her, and also she's good at everything, but like if she's not, she'll learn how to be better than even the best at it. And I didn't love that. It's not a good color. I've seen it plenty of times. I'm sick and tired of reading about it. Oh my god, I'm supposed to be talking about good things, aren't I? I really do love the magic in this book. Mia has the ability to control shadows, and part of that is that she has like a shadow pet that follows her around and eats her fear, so she is fearless and able to do stuff that she wouldn't normally be able to do without that. There's this whole entire plot line where she is trying to train to be an assassin so that she can kill off the man who killed her father. There's this whole entire part where she is trying to revenge her mother, who has been locked away in this prison. There's this great female friendship that happens in this book. There is a ton of awesome characters that are not the main like 3 characters that I really enjoy and appreciate for being in this book. It has a wide range of characters. It has lots of different ethnic groups within it. It has lots of different traumatic pasts and different disabilities that people have to overcome. It is a good read, but I just want to talk to past me and be like, it's not the all-encompassing god of all books that you thought it originally was. Now, am I ever going to reread this book? Probably. I might give myself a few more years, because I think it was too soon for me to reread this one. It's only been like 2 or 3 years. But I would definitely be willing to give it a shot. Am I still going to keep making fan art for it? Absolutely. This book has so much good imagery surrounding it to make art based on. So like, yeah, I definitely can tell you right now that I will not be reading the 3rd one, because I just read it this year and I'm still pissy about it. Stay tuned. I will tell you everything that we're going to be reading together in my TBR. And if you want to know anything for certain or join the book club, you can check the link down below. It is the Discord link. Anyone is welcome. Just know that we're just going to be reading fantasy though and talking about fantasy, and we have a really fun time together. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. If you've read Nevernight, please comment down below and tell me what your thoughts are about it. And let me know if there's anything I kind of missed when it came to complaining about this book. I'm sorry that all I could really focus on was the complaints. I have a lot of good things to say about it. I just feel like a lot of the good parts of it are kind of assumed and you have to read the book to actually experience them. So I'm just here to talk about the negative ones that I can talk about without spoiling it for you. I don't remember how my outro goes, but until next time, I will talk to you all in the comments. Bye!